Hi everyone. Well, this time I've done my video kind of the other way around. I'm doing the talking at the end of my engraving, but at the start of the video. How about that? So yeah, I'm a little bit hot and sweaty. It's nice to be hot for a change. It's not winter, it is summer. So I have had a paperweight I've had to do for a client for a graduation, and it's the gift from the mum to the daughter. So it's a gorgeous heavy lead crystal handmade paperweight, very old actually. I've got quite a few from Dartington, and I've already sandblasted the lettering going around, you can see, and the heart, and then I have just completed hand engraving the moonflower, well, my sort of version of a moonflower. So actually let me put the mat, no, I'll put this side up. Okay, you are looking at the base of it. That's interesting because what I see on the screen is the right way around and it should be mirror image, but I'm hoping that it's filming mirror image. I promise you it's the right way round. So that's the base of it, but when you turn it around and see the top of it, it is actually quite a lot nicer. Lovely depth of the flower. I have, it's what called in Intaglio engraving, and I have gone quite deep, and I'll show you with some white tack. Basically, I'll see if I can pick up the depth to show you of the flower mainly. Right, let's see if you can see that. Ooh. There we are. There you can see quite clearly now how deep I've actually engraved it. That's rather fun, isn't it? I like that. Anyway, so that will now need a little clean, of course. I'll probably clean it downstairs with rubbing alcohol, and that will take any nasty grubbiness out of it. But so there you have it, a lovely, lovely gift to be treasured forever by the daughter from her mum for her wonderful achievement. Obviously a lot of hard work that she's put into it, and to finally graduate. It was really interesting when I set it up, when I set the sticker up, the sticker as in the mask, there was a tiny bubble, and the weirdest thing was, I knew there were little bubbles in the paperweight, but I didn't even think about them because they don't matter, it's handmade. And when I looked, I had stuck it, and that little bubble is slap bang in the middle of the heart. And I did not plan that. That just happened by chance. And I looked at that and I thought, wow, wow, some things are just meant to be. And that to me is really quite special. Crumbs, I really enjoyed this. So I hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you learn from it and try and experiment with some deep intaglio engraving on a piece of glass yourself. Obviously crystal is better, and obviously a thick chunk of it is better. That would be way too deep for a normal drinking glass, obviously. So you want to look for a paperweight or something like that. Okay, so let's get on with the video. Well, diving straight in with the white Arkansas, as usual. I've got my little sketch, which I have drawn with a permanent marker, and I am just lightly going over it with the white Arkansas. As I've said before, my little drawing is sort of a rough idea. If I want to change things as I go along, I certainly will. This is an interesting little flower. The petals are sort of joined together, but the middle of each one has got a sort of a little point with an interesting shaped vein going up towards it. And as I normally say, this is certainly not a botanical study. This is taking the idea of a moonflower and giving it a bit of a Leslie Pike touch. You will notice I didn't bother with engraving the outlines of the inner parts of the flower because I'm about to completely and utterly obliterate them anyway. I was just having a look, see what they will look like and work it out in my head basically how I will be tackling it. So now I've got my water dripping. Of course we are working on the underside of the paperweight. This is a large diamond and I have got the speed set at 130% of normal speed. I'm roughly starting to sort of engrave out that area. I don't know why I left that little patch. I think I was having a little bit of trouble holding the water for some reason. It had a twist in it. This crystal is very, very soft. It's really beautiful to work with. So I start off, as I say, by mapping out the whole area and going sort of evenly deep throughout. And right from the very edges, pretty deep. Obviously, this is a clumpy big old burr, so I'm not going to worry at the moment about the very tiny points and the very edge of it. It's mainly to obliterate the middle as much as I can, first of all. Out with the larger diamond and very carefully, without sort of letting the bottom part of it scratch the outside, I'm smoothing out the area. To a degree anyway, just getting rid of most of the lumps and bumps. You could use a green stone for this. You could use another diamond and go over the whole thing very carefully if it was slightly smaller. And as long as you're pressing lightly and just gently going over the whole thing, you can get it relatively flat. I just like to do things quite quickly, so the bigger the better. You can see already with the shadow coming across that it's relatively deep, and looking from the other side, of course, there's a bit of a depth going on there. This will be the depth of the back of the flower. slightly smaller diamond and just going into those edges a bit more, keeping it nice and neat. So I have got a very, very small diamond burr now, and I am concentrating on the tiny, tiny little points of the middle of the petals. There are 5 altogether. So there you can see an interesting shape. It looks like a bit of a cloud. And I'm taking a non-permanent pen and again just drawing in for my own mind the shapes of the petals themselves and then these interesting veins. So here I have my white Arkansas, and I'm going to just darken the middle area and the veins. Oh, and the joins, I suppose, as well. Mainly to just show myself where they are. But the veins are going to be slightly darker anyway. I call them veins. I don't know what they're called. They're just a, sort of a darker bit down the middle of the petal. That was quite a chunky little burr. So at this point I haven't taken the darker veins right to the edge as yet. Now I've got a little diamond and I am just going around the edges of the veins, making them stand out a little bit more. And I'm also adding a little bit of depth to where the end of the petals are. Blending in and blending in. So out of the water, and I have got my little diamond, and I am now going pretty deep for the front of the flower. The front of the flower, which will be closer to us, and therefore in engraving terms it has to be deeper, giving the impression that it's closer. And in this case, in fact, it is going to be closer because we're going to be looking through the glass from the other side. Now I've got a large diamond, and again I'm going over the front area, having just used the small one to make sure I don't make a mess of it. Nice clean sharp edge, and now I'm doing the larger area with the larger burr. Really going quite deep. And I'm also trying to make it relatively smooth. I mean, these flowers do have a bit of, well, at least some of them, and certainly the Leslie Pike ones have a little bit of texture, and you can make it up, you know, and but not too much texture. I'm kind of being a little bit gentle, even though I look like I'm being quite aggressive, but I am making them quite a lot deeper than the back of the flower. And this will really give it a 3D effect. I've got a very small burr again, and I'm going to concentrate on the points of the petals. Look at that cute wee bubble on the heart. It's adorable. You can see how the water is sitting in that front petal because it is quite deep. Back to my little round white Arkansas, and again putting a little dark area where the veins are, and actually using the point of a thinner one here, white Arkansas, just so that I can get a little bit closer to the edge of the petal. Now a little rubber. This is a green one. You can use a little brown one or any little rubber. And if it's a bit fat, make it thinner by holding it against a burr, a diamond or a stone. Here I've got a little diamond, and I am highlighting the edges of these little areas so that they're neat and they show up nicely. I'm liking this bit of contrast. I think it works quite nicely. Here's a soft grey rubber, or any rubber really, but I like the soft grey because it is a gentle finish. Now I'm just shading from the middle outwards slightly. It's also picking up the little veins, making them that little bit darker. Now I have with me a little darling. It's just like a miniature wheel, and I'm also just rigging up the water so it drips directly over the top. I should do this more often so Jolly Wool doesn't get in the way all the time. It's much better. Right, now you can see what's going on. This is a little darling, and as I said, like a little wheel. It's very sharp, and I am digging slowly but deeply into the back there to create the little stamens. Now I've got rat's tail quite an old rat's tail. Could have done with a newer one, quite frankly, a thinner edge. Probably wasn't even as sharp as it should have been. But anyway, they've got quite thick little necks, and I've just ran that down to the middle. Now here I've got the hard rubber I was talking about, and I've just run it across that edge. And of course it has beautifully shaded the inner part of the flower where the stamens are coming out of. Big diamond now, and just going over the bottom part of the flower. Coming up to the edge of the petal there, I obviously have not gone very deep. I've just dragged it up to the edge. And creating almost heart shapes on these leaves. My client wanted a heart theme. Very roughly, of course, I will be neatening them up with smaller burrs. So here I've got a little diamond, and I am just adding a slightly stripy sort of texture to the fluted bottom of the flower. Now just neatening up the little leafy sleeve at the base of the flower. I love the way I make up my own botanical references. You know what I mean. Anyway, I could have made these little buds, really. Well, you can imagine them being buds. They are just my version of a leaf. Very, very simple. Trying to keep the tops of the points of the leaves quite neat. I can barely see what's going on, quite frankly. I struggle when it's wet and not nice and bright. And of course, once we dry it off, then I'll be able to see much clearer. And then I'll be able to sharpen the edges much easier. I must do some more of these paperweights because they lend themselves to so much. They are absolutely magnificent. I'm not sure who makes anything like this anymore, to be frank. I've had them for years and I've not seen them. You can certainly get the optical crystal paperweights. Crumbs, there's so many of those around, but I find those are quite a bit harder, and I don't particularly like them, quite frankly. I prefer these that are full lead crystal and lovely and soft. And you see how that's showing up even though everything is completely wet. And when you think about engraving when it's wet, you usually can barely see it, but because it's so deep and it's catching the light and it's beautiful crystal, looking through the crystal there, it was just magical how it was showing up. So now we've dried it off and I can see much better. and I can try and fix my wobbly little points. When you are finishing off with a little diamond like this, it really does need to be a nice, neat, new diamond, not something... Well, this is what I prefer anyway, rather than something that is a bit worn. Look at the light on that. We need to do more intaglio engraving. It really is effective. Hope you're enjoying this. I certainly am, or did. I really did enjoy this one. I think we need to do another fish. Yeah, I think another fish and dragonfly. I did a pond life series. I must have done about 7 or 8 pond life paperweights. So it's time for another one, I think. So all I've been doing there is just going around and picking up little bits of edges that I'd like to fix. What I didn't notice, I must admit, and here I've got a grey rubber, picking up some edges. Some extra shading. What I did notice later on was the very edges of the petals. I think I could have quite happily gone back and neatened them a little bit more. They were showing the a little outline as I had gone around them with a tiny diamond, and I didn't like that. So in actual fact, before I give it to the client, in fact, I will probably just run back to those petal edges and get rid of that line. Of course, very important is to sign. Well, you're holding it sideways and it's wobbling. You can see the bubbles inside these. Oh, I love bubbles. I love them. It's such a sign of being handmade. So there you have it, finished, and yeah, I think it's really pretty, and I hope she likes it. You can see there is a tiny area on the edge of the front petal which I want to blend in. I don't like seeing that outline, and so I will be doing that after this video, very simply, just with a very small diamond and just blending it in. I hope you enjoyed that. Give it a go. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye for now.